Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa and this is a paid for promo video by the guys over at DinoPC.co.uk. They asked me to take a look at this system, but yes, they have paid me to produce this video, so let's get that out of the way before we begin. This is the Dino Primal Mammoth. It's a brand new system they've got available. There is a link in the description. Go and check it out, guys. It's a really nice system. You can see it's a well put together system, but you're probably thinking, well, what the hell is in the system, Sty? Well, let me tell you. It's got an Intel i5 6600K. It's got the Corsair H75 water cooling block on it. It's got Windows 10. It's got the Z170-Gaming K3 motherboard with the red LEDs, which actually light up and stuff when music plays. It's pretty funky. But it has the XFX R9 390 Radeon card, which I'm really looking forward to seeing how that actually, performs, because that's a pretty high-end Radeon card. It's also got 16 gig of RAM. As far as storage goes, it's got 120 gig SSD and a 2TB hard drive. As for the case, this thing is rocking a Corsair Air 540. And as you can see, it's got a lot of air vents, a shed load of airflow. Probably going to be pretty solid for overclocking performance. A really nice looking case, actually. You can see it's got this compartment on the back as well, which hides all of the cables. You can put additional drives there out of the way. There's your PSU, and it's also got drive bays available at the front. Now, you're probably noticing that I've only got the power cable plugged into the PC. Yes, that's because I've heaved it onto my desk so we can take a look at it in all of its glory before I shove it under the desk and we do some performance testing. Oh, yeah! So the idea with this video is I'm not going to give you detailed benchmarks and break down the performance of this machine at various steps of resolution. It is very capable of doing 1440p and even 4K in some instances. However, I'm going to focus on 1080p because that's what I game at. This is a real-world gaming test, if you will, because I demand high frame rates, like above 100 FPS, if possible. I have a monitor which has got 144 Hz refresh rate, so I demand high frame rates. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for in a system. So we're going to see how this game performs in games like Battlefield 4 because they're graphically intensive. Games like Crysis 3 because that is still extremely graphically intensive. But then we'll also look at games like Overwatch and various other games which you'll see in the upcoming tests. So it's going to be interesting to see what we get, and we'll be able to see the FPS live on the screen. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this because I think this is going to be a pretty good system. It's been a while since I've looked at any AMD cards. I've been an NVIDIA user for quite some time now, so yeah, I can't wait to see how this performs. First up, we've got The Witcher 3. Now, everything is on Ultra. In all of the clips you'll see of the various games, everything is on the maximum settings possible. Now, in the top left-hand corner of the screen, you can see the recorded FPS right now. So, you look at it right now, we're at 57, 56, 45, 48, 49. You get the gist of the FPS. Now, while this isn't a totally accurate scientific benchmark test, it's a real-world performance test. We can see that we're getting around about 45 FPS on the whole. Now, this is Witcher 3 on Ultra. This is one of the best looking games on the market, full stop. Now, I mean, to compare this to my 780, I would get about 15 FPS trying this. So this is actually quite good. Now, this is, remember, at 1080p. So if you were to jump up into 1440p, I doubt you would be able to play at on the Ultra settings. You'd have to drop them down. But it is still very impressive. To be honest, I was quite surprised it actually performed at this level, because I know Witcher 3 is synonymous with destroying computers, especially when you put them onto you put the graphics onto Ultra. So I was impressed with this, and it definitely makes the game look way better. I mean, I can't play the game at these settings, so I was a little bit jealous that well, this machine could. But yeah, I think this is all right, and there you go. Now, this is Overwatch. This is obviously still in development, but I decided to throw this in because it's an example of a fast-paced FPS. Now, if you remember what I said before, I demand high frame rates. Now, I have this on maximum. Usually, when I play this, again on my 780 rig, of which I'll put the specs in the video description below so you guys can kind of get an idea between this and the system that we're testing right now, I usually play on medium to obtain around about 90 FPS. This is on full. Ultra, everything is on high, and it's getting, well, you can see what it's getting, 70, 80, 90, sometimes it goes over 100 FPS. That's really solid performance. But as I say, this game, it's not even launched yet, so this will have performance increases and all kinds of stuff, and it'll have drivers designed for it, which will come out, which will again increase the performance, I would imagine. Again, I'm very impressed. I suppose talking again about going up to the high resolutions, 1440p and possibly 4K, again, yeah, definitely doable. In fact, I reckon you could probably get away with 1440p on medium settings and still get around 90 FPS, most likely. which would actually be pretty damn good, because as you step up the resolutions, you kind of don't need things like AA anymore, because you've just got the sheer resolution that kind of they kind of make up for that. So yeah, I'm very impressed with the performance in Overwatch, but I was expecting pretty good performance in Overwatch anyway. It's interesting to see the AMD performance, because as I said, I've been on the NVIDIA side of the graphics card sort of clan, I suppose, for quite a while now, so it was interesting to see the performance of this, and to see that it's pretty good performance. It wasn't interesting to die to Symmetra's turrets there, though. Now, this is Crysis 3. A pretty old game now, but this is still graphically absolutely amazing. Again, you can see the FPS up the top left-hand corner, so it's kind of pointless me just reeling off numbers to you. So you can see it's around about 40 to 60 FPS. Obviously, higher FPS when we go indoors. Outdoors, it's much lower, you know, around 40. Sometimes it dropped down to 35-ish, coming back up. But this is on Ultra, guys. Everything is on Ultra. Again, going back to my 780 rig, there is no way it would do. It would just crumble. Like, I mean, I'd be lucky to get 12 FPS. You know, it would just collapse. So it's impressive to see that, which I can only presume is down to the amount of VRAM on this card. I think it's got 8 gig on it, which is a bit ridiculous. But yeah, as I said, this isn't a 100% accurate look at these benchmarks. I can compare this GPU back to another GPU, or I can compare this computer back to another computer. It's just, how does it perform? Because this is a set system that Dino sell. As far as I'm concerned, if you're looking for a system which is going to play all of the latest games in 1080p on the highest settings at around about, well, I guess it depends on the game. As you can see, Crysis on 40 FPS, but around about 40 to 60 FPS on the whole. Things like Overwatch, you're going to obviously play crazy levels of FPS, like 80 or so on Ultra. We're going to go into a Battlefield 4 video in a second, and you'll see that running at over 100 FPS, which is pretty ridiculous. And by extension, you could probably apply that to Battlefront as well, although I didn't get a chance to test Battlefront with this rig. But you're buying into a rig here, which is going to give you more than good enough 1080p performance. It's going to give you decent 1440p performance. But the fact is, you're going to be able to play all of the modern games, all of the graphically demanding games at 1080p, anywhere between 40 and 60 FPS easily. I would say 60 FPS is the benchmark for me, but when you factor in games like Crysis 3, where the graphics are, quite frankly, ridiculous, the fact that it, you know, you can see now it's achieving like 50 odd FPS, that's pretty good. I mean, that's really good, guys, really good. So moving into Battlefield 4, as you can see, the FPS is just ridiculous, like 120. Ridiculous. So what do I think about this machine? Well, I think it's a very nice looking machine. The only negative I've got is the sound of the thing, because obviously it's got a lot of vents in the case and there's a lot of fans in there. It does make a fair bit of noise. Although I'm used to my Fractal R4 case, which is acoustically sealed basically, so I don't really get much sound, but that's something I have to worry about because I'm a YouTube and a Twitch streamer, so I have to worry about ambient noise in the background. I wouldn't say it's unbearable, but it's definitely something to be aware of. Apart from that though, it's a very solid system. I think you get what you pay for. You get a system which is capable of playing all of the games that are out right now on the highest settings. I mean, mileage is going to vary depending on what game you play, as I said previously. But you're getting a solid machine, which again is capable of 1440p and above, and 4K in some examples. But you've got to remember 4K is extremely demanding, so not many people game at 4K anyway. 1440p, that's, I'd say, pushing it a bit. You would have to drop the settings down. I mean, as I said, with the Overwatch example, and again with the Battlefield example here, if I was wanting to play at 1440p, I probably couldn't have it on Ultra. I'd have to drop some settings down, you know, maybe the shadows, maybe the texture resolutions, things like that, just to deal with the loss of FPS. But that's if you were obsessed with keeping a ridiculously high FPS. So hopefully, guys, let's give you a good overview of this DinoPC Primal Mammoth, which is available right now. You can check it out in the description below. I hope you've enjoyed this video as well, guys, because it's a bit of a departure from the norm, but I do enjoy looking at hardware. We have done it in the past. We've done it with XMG laptops and stuff like that. So I want to see your feedback, guys. What do you think about these real-world performance reviews? Let me know in the comments below. I've been SureCare, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Toodaloo.